Hey everybody, welcome to ThaxCast. As always, my name's Terrell. Thanks for coming by. Real quick, I wanted to give you an update. My first Patreon exclusive video is up over at patreon.com/ThaxCast. After this video, you can go check it out. It's available for all patrons at the $1 and up level. So I appreciate your support. It'll help fund this adventure. So I just got back from watching Ready Player One. Now I know it's a little bit late, but the first week it was out, I got sick, and then there was other stuff that came up. So this was the first chance I got to see it. I'm going to keep this first part completely spoiler free, and I'll let you know at the end when there's going to be a little bit of spoilers. But anyway, so Ready Player One, written by Ernest Cline. If you haven't seen my book review, you can go back and watch it and then come back to this video or watch it later. What I'll tell you to begin with is, in that video, I talked about how it looked like it was already very different just from the first trailer. So I went into this movie expecting, honestly, I was expecting a maximum of maybe 20%, 20% of the original story making it into this final cut. And I would say that's probably about right. It is very different. Now, going back just to overall impressions real quick. So overall, the cinematography is really good. The action scenes, I think, could have done with just a little bit less cut between camera angles and that kind of thing. All in all, that's a fairly minor thing to complain about, but I could have used a little bit less of that. The production quality was great. The CG was really good. It was convincing enough to seem like a really good VR environment, while still having enough difference to seem like, okay, there's a clear difference between the VR world of the Oasis and the real world of the reality. The acting was probably the low point of the movie. I don't think there was any like real standout performances. I felt like at some points some of the characters were a little bit dry or maybe a little bit unsure. And the characters themselves from the books sometimes have some hesitation and stuff, but I'm talking about just in terms of being an actor, it kind of felt at times like they didn't know how to portray certain things. But overall, the direction of the movie was good. The story was good. And we'll get into in just a second how it's different. But overall, if you haven't read the book, you will probably enjoy the movie. And there are enough references to the book and some of the pop culture that the book goes into that if you were alive during the 80s and 90s, you're probably going to have some good throwback stuff that you're going to enjoy. If you read the book, go into the movie expecting not the book. So Spielberg did a fantastic job, and kudos to him as far as making a good movie. Oh, the one thing that drove me absolutely nuts during the movie, and this isn't really a spoiler if you know it all just from the trailers and that kind of thing. The one thing that drove me nuts is the sheer coincidence of people being in proximity to each other in real life and in the Oasis. That would be completely impossible um, to really happen, but for some reason, uh, hey, the guy next to me died. Oh, the real life person just fell to the ground right there. You know, that kind of thing. Oh, let me look over to my right. There's that character in the Oasis and in real life. Could not have happened that way. So that really, really bugged me. And like seeing the people run down the streets while they're wearing their VR gear, like that wouldn't happen either, because what are the chances that the place you need to run just happens to be an open area down the street? I mean, there would be people running into buildings. It would be chaos. Really what it would be is you would have people in virtual reality suits, and either they're on a 360 treadmill, or they would have some sort of actual control system to be able to run without physically doing the run. So those two things really bugged me. The fact that there was always the proximity thing. It didn't matter where in the story it was. If something happened to the person next to you, it was the person that was next to you in real life too, and that absolutely drove me crazy. But that combined with the fact that you're not going to have people just running down the street because again, it just wouldn't play out that way. Um, those two things really bugged me enough to sort of take me out of the experience a little bit because it's just so unrealistic that it was absurd. The rest of the movie, though, the direction, the production, everything was great. Just those two things really bothered me. Okay, so now we're going to go into the section that could possibly contain spoilers, depending on how you look at what a spoiler is. As I said, the movie is vastly different from the books. In the books, you have three keys, and there's a trick to finding each key. Uh, and each key leads to a gate, and then there's a puzzle at the gate to figure out. So basically, there's 6 puzzles, and you have to get through them all to be able to get to the final Easter egg. In this movie, they pretty much shortened it to just get the 3 keys, and that's all you need. I sort of get that in the interest of time, so it's a little bit forgivable there. The movie jumps straight in to the first challenge for the first key, so there's no real story about how they find it. They just go, oh, well, some unnamed gunter found it, and there's a portal there now. So it's a little disappointing that there was no build up to the first key. It's just, hey, they got to finish this challenge, and that challenge is nothing like the book. In fact, none of the challenges were like the book. The third one arguably has roots to the book, but overall, the challenges really had nothing to do with the book. Minor things were different that seemed like they didn't need to be that different. Like, everybody just happens to live in Columbus, Ohio that was doing this. Versus in the book, Wade lived in Oklahoma, and the other characters lived around the world, and they were brought together by Ogden Morrow. So, kind of a big difference there. They did at least stay true to a little bit to him growing up in that trailer stack and then it getting blown up. It missed the whole part of him living on his own in his own apartment and all that. Again, I sort of get it for time purposes. There were a lot of differences, and really, okay, so they made some references to the book just to be like, oh, look, we didn't forget about this. We're just not going to use it. For instance, they talk about a couple of things, items that are in the book that are, oh, here it is in the movie, but plays no part. I'm just a little disappointed that they didn't take a little more time and go along the lines of the actual book. This is the impression I would give it is that it's like somebody heard an early just bam, bam, bam. Here's kind of what the book's about. It's going to have it's going to have puzzles. You have to do this. You have these evil people, and here's the end. And then somebody goes, okay, great, and then wrote a whole nother story on it because it is utterly different from the book. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, movies are always different from the book. No, you don't understand. This is almost so different that it should have a different name. As far as book conversions to movies, the Harry Potter books did a very good job. The Lord of the Rings books were okay. I mean, they left out some stuff like Tom Bombadil and that kind of thing, but overall they kept the general idea there and all that. But yeah, this movie took the book at just its bare backbone and said, okay, let's draw up a whole new story on it. So do I like that or not? I really haven't decided yet because it is so different from the book that it's almost a new story. So, I mean, I don't know. Watch it and see for yourself. I really liked it, But again, I went into it with the expectation of not being the same as the book. If you go into it with the expectation of it being the book, you're probably going to be really pissed within the first couple of minutes. So temper your expectations. It is well worth watching though. So I would say go watch it with an open mind. And if you haven't read the book, enjoy it because it's going to be great. Well, that's it for this video. Remember, go check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/ThaxCast. Throw me a couple bucks there. It will help develop this channel a little bit better, get me some better equipment. As always, your subscriptions and your comments are appreciated. I do always read through the comments and try to reply. If you liked the video, remember to share it and give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. And as always, thanks for coming by. Be good to each other and have a good one.